We got the game we thought we would get. Friday night, it just happened about 12 hours later in College Station, Texas. 10 points good enough to win for Miami. 10-3 the final. I'm sitting high atop Kyle Field right now. Some quick, just raw, immediate takeaways is it's really unfathomable how different the Miami defense looks now than a year ago. That's kind of the reason. This game is kind of the reason you go and get Corey Heatherman. And it kind of lends a lot of support to the theory that the personnel was there, scheme, coaching, development, whatever, probably lacked. So that's come a long way in 1 year. So let's break this down a little bit. It was a big perception game, I think, for Mario Cristobal because they've never had problems acquiring talent, assembling a roster down there. They own the portal. So that was never in question. They've ascended every year under him, but at every turn with him, it's always yeah, but. And this year it was, yeah, I mean you had 10 wins last year, but you didn't make the playoff. Well, this year they made the playoff, and so now you got to go on the road against an SEC team. And can you do that? They did it today. Didn't do it the way that the game script necessarily called for it to be done, but that's sort of the beauty. It's ironic that I talked about A&M all year, and I talked about how versatile they were by necessity because of the early season games they had. They had to go win shootouts, they had to win slugfest, and I thought that would make them very well equipped for whatever the playoff would throw at them. I know they didn't end the season red hot, but neither did Alabama, and they got off the deck last night down 17 and won a game. So really good teams can find a way to hit the switch when it counts the most. But it was Miami actually today that ended up winning a different style of game than I know they came in here expecting, and also a different style of game most of America expected, which is sort of the beauty of why you have the kind of personnel you have and the multiplicity and the talent up front specifically, where if I got Carson Beck barely putting up 100 through the air, I don't think 9 times out of 10 I'm going on the road, especially, and winning a game. But I did because I just got monsters up front. And I got guys that can, for instance, limit the A&M ground game, which makes Marcel Reed have to beat me with his arm. And he could not do that. At least he could not attempt to do that without turning the ball over. And there were a couple of key interceptions here. But I also want to remind folks one of the pre-padlock stats that we kind of circle coming into this game was mobile quarterbacks had not given Miami issues all year. They had faced five of them. Who was it? Lagway and drones, and they faced several of them. Byron Brown with USF, they had a combined 74 rush yards on them, those five guys. Today, Reed had 15 carries, 27 yards. So his legs, occasionally he was able to move the chains, but his legs really weren't a big factor. And if that's not happening, and if you're not having success traditionally running the ball, you got to throw the ball to win. That was going to be tough in static conditions. It was very, very windy here today, so it was going to be even more tough. But A&M was not without opportunity, which is what you just leave this place kicking yourself thinking. And that is they had one, two, three, four, five, six possessions in Miami territory that netted 3 points. Now, that is a Hall of Fame effort defensively from Miami. I don't think that's the way the A&M folks will look at it. The way the A&M folks will look at it is they'll have a lot of questions for Colin Klein, who is now off to Kansas State as the head coach there. Um, but you just, man, it's tough. It's tough when you say half of the stat sheet and you say 10 points and you say, like I said, Carson Beck, barely 100 passing yards. If I were to guarantee you those sorts of things yesterday or all week, you're thinking, I love us today. I love us to win. I love us to cover. I love us to do whatever. We're probably comfortable in the fourth quarter. So the versatility and the ability to adapt on the fly that I kind of banked on A&M having, they didn't have. I did find it funny when we were walking off the field. A lot of the Miami folks, were saying stuff to the effect of, "Hey, man, it's not just in the SEC where they play this style of ball. We play it in the ACC too." No, you actually don't. You guys play it. No one else in the ACC plays like that. No one else in the ACC looks like that. Let me put it that way. Having the personnel, having the ability doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. It's what's been frustrating watching Miami occasionally over the past couple of years because their talent roster is on a different level than anyone, I mean anyone in the league. It doesn't always manifest itself in the result on the field. Today, it halfway did. Offensively, still a long way to go. I mean, there was a critical turnover A&M forced near midfield late in this game that, for all the world, looked like was going to be the difference in the game. And they end up making another stand. There's a lot to be said especially when you have as many snaps as A&M had in Miami territory of just making them keep snapping the ball. Sounds so simple. Don't let them score, make them keep snapping the ball. But when you have a turnover prone, erratic offense, there's a lot of difference in just making them snap the ball. Doesn't matter if it's inside the 10-yard line, goal to go. We saw that at the end of the game. Make them keep snapping the ball. Because, yes, every further snap does give them a chance to score. It also gives you a chance to turn the game. And that's what Miami ended up doing.
Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip.
So here's what happens. They move on, do the Miami Hurricanes, to face Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Early guess, if you haven't already looked, what would you think that line would be? I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. That one opens Ohio State minus 11.5, dropped to 10.5 pretty quick. That one's in Dallas, in Arlington. That one's indoors. That one's on New Year's Eve. Who knows? We may be there. I don't know. No decisions have been made yet. But that, from just a pure talent roster, personnel versus personnel standpoint, is going to be a war. Ohio State may win the thing comfortably. It may be a dogfight. I'm just talking about the caliber of athletes on the field. But I cannot help but go back to a year ago. Remember the formula for Miami winning games a year ago? It was, all right, everyone just stop and see if Cam Ward can do something here. And to their credit, they got away from that this year because they hired very competently on the defensive side of the ball. They continue to develop. They continue to acquire talent, but they continue to develop. You remember that secondary got really severely overhauled, and it was the talk of fall camp. They thought they just hit on all those guys, along with Corey Heatherman, defensive coordinator. And lo and behold, you're down the stretch and you're needing to win games, and you go on the road against Pitt. Pitt, very good passing attack this year. They did nothing. They did virtually nothing against you. And you come in here, and we have seen, even though Marcel Reed and that offense have been erratic down the stretch, we had seen them with several catbuster plays this year. And you gave up, I don't think they gave up many, if any, at all today. And that's why you're able to score 10 points and win a game on the road. The Texas A&M future, it's not going to be a fun ride home for anyone today. It's not going to be a fun next couple of days. I've not changed my opinion a bit on Mike Elko. I'm sky high on him. I'm sky high on their ability to recruit and develop, probably as much as I am anyone in the SEC. They're going through some of the same stuff Miami's gone through. Probably further ahead, much further ahead than when Mario walked in the door at Miami. So it's not an apples to apples comparison per se. But you just got to take your lumps. DeBoer and Alabama took their lumps last year. To an extent, they still took them this year. There is not a whole bunch of Kurt Cignetti, Indiana, copy and paste just happening all over the country. That's the exception, not the rule. The rule is it takes a little while, which is what makes it fun when you win. That's why people celebrate so hard when they win, because it's hard. It's very, very difficult to do. But it was a big time perception game for Mario Cristobal in Miami. They may not win another game in this tournament, but from here on, anything they get in terms of perception is just whipped cream on top. Now you definitively look at this year and say, that's 4 years in a row that we've gotten better. You can nitpick, you can criticize here, you can criticize there. Some of it may even be valid because they're not running a perfect program, but they're running, to me, the best program in the ACC. And they are now, a team that can go man for man with folks in the playoff. And they're a team, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Again, I know 10.5, I think right now still, 10.5 is the number on that game against Ohio State. You remember this time last year, it was Oregon rather, who had locked down the number one overall seed, and they go to the playoffs and they have a first round bye, whereas Ohio State had to go play a game in the first round. But it didn't matter because when they got put on the same field, Ohio State blew their doors off. Now, certainly I don't expect Miami to do that, but it will be interesting to see what effect rest has on Ohio State, the self-scouting they've done internally and following the Indiana game, how different they plan to play. This Miami defense can scale against anyone. I just want to put it out there. A lot of folks are going to probably dismiss to an extent this performance for improper reasons, and it'll just be, well, most people could have done that against A&M. All right, well, we're going to play the game, so we'll find out. But I believe it's going to be tough business offensively to be had against Miami. Now, the follow-up is, can they score? Because if you don't get anything better out of Carson Beck than you got today, you probably have a much more efficient operation there with Ohio State with time to prepare for you. But That's for 10 or so days down the road. Congratulations to Mario Cristobal. It was a very, very spirited scene with that group coming off the field because there's still a lot of hurdles they're clearing for the first time there. And hopefully those hurdles are in Mike Elko and Texas A&M's future as well. All right, we got to get home. We got more playoff games to watch. Just wanted to give you some quick initial thoughts on this one. Miami 10, A&M 3.